The United Nations Human Rights Office this week named a number of countries where they have concerns about the use of excessive force in the maintenance of lockdowns in response to the coronavirus outbreak. The Office of the High Commissioner initially labelled South Africa as among a group of countries with a toxic lockdown culture, a label that has since been quietly walked back after protests from the South African mission to the UN in Geneva. Earlier, we spoke to South Africa's ambassador to the UN in Geneva, Nozipho Mxakato-Diseko.
Let me begin by thanking South Africans actually for coming together to face the virus in a unified way, and thank our government for leading and in a consultative manner and a transparent manner. And also clarify that we have a very good relationship with the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights. We work very well, we respect her, and we support her in the work that we're doing, and we take seriously her advice. Now, when we saw an article that conveyed that South Africa is one of the countries that has a toxic lockdown culture, we were alarmed because the full meaning of that is toxic lockdown culture of repressive measures. And the understanding amongst us in Geneva is that this means states that are using the virus, the pandemic, to take advantage of it to repress their people. And indeed, Michelle actually elaborates on this and says emergency powers should not be a weapon of government, a weapon that governments can wield to quash dissent in order to control populations or even to perpetuate their time in power. So this is the full meaning of the term as we understand it in Geneva. The shorthand for it by the Secretary General is that we should focus, the threat is the virus and not the people. And so with this understanding, it wasn't quite clear on what basis South Africa would fit the category of countries that created a lockdown culture of repressive measures with a view to sustaining their power, heads of state in power, or with a view to repressing their people. Because in South Africa, we're seeing also a wonderful situation in which the media is free to follow what is happening, and it unearths any wrongdoing by any part of government that's supposed to be responsible for aspects of the implementation of the COVID response. Civil society is very active in South Africa and an essential part of government's response to COVID-19. Government constitutional structures such as the Commission for Human Rights are on the ground making sure that government gets it right. Where government has got it wrong, this is quickly pointed out, and there is a debate, as was the case with the arrest of people in a mosque for prayer, and the manner in which their dignity was impaired. So we need a clarification as to the basis on which a conclusion could be reached that South Africa is in the category of those states that have created a lockdown, a toxic lockdown culture of repressive measures, which, when you understand the term fully, would mean states where governments are dictatorial, where there are no democratic practices. And yet, Minister Lamula had actually set the legal context for the lockdown.
All right.
And on a daily basis, regulations are being gazetted that are transparent. These are also being challenged in the courts. Our courts are working to mediate and arbitrate and make sure that government is doing things according to the rule of law.
All right, so perhaps the definition may have been, doesn't fit the South African profile, but how have you been able to explain to the UN some of these damaging videos that have gone viral on social media, where, as you've described yourself, it looks as if some of our security officials, police, army, may have overstepped the mark?
You know, Peter, actually, as a matter of fact, a lockdown is never a pleasant thing by its nature. And the High Commissioner herself agrees that, you know, human nature can cause people to respond in ways that are not proper. There's understanding that this is not an easy thing to do. It's a challenging thing to do. We admit where we see wrongdoing. We admit it. And we see also that our government is very quick to respond. And the Minister of the Police is apologizing left, right, and center. Investigations, IPs is at work to make sure that those that have broken the law are brought to law. You know, the law also doesn't discriminate in South Africa. Even cabinet ministers found themselves also being subjected to it. We're not saying that South Africa is a saintly or angelic, and we are just saying that we need to be portrayed accurately so that we can know where to correct mistakes and learn from those while we manage an unprecedented situation globally.
All right, so we believe that the Minister of Defence has received a request from the presidency to have more soldiers on the ground. Does that bring up some concern that, you know, soldiers are trained to go to war and go into conflict areas that...
Not necessarily, it does not necessarily, because where you have a constitutional order, and the role of the military is defined. When you need to have these bridges built and you need additional capacity, that is understood. And in our conversations here in Geneva, including with the Office of the High Commissioner, they understand this. There's no issues. Where you then have a problem is when the military engages in the politics of the country and ceases to be the protector of the people. Where you will have problems is when the military turns on the people, but everybody saw the message that the president gave the military as the defenders of our people, also and as a defender of our national sovereignty. And my understanding is that there's also an ongoing attempt to clarify and get clarity on what exactly the military is going to be doing. It's not going to be usurping, according to my understanding, it's not going to be usurping the role of the police.
All right, so are we on the same page then with High Commissioner Bachelet? Does she understand then that we don't fit into this description of this lockdown culture, which has been characterized by some mistakenly, as you say, as being excessive? And does she understand then? Have we been able to clear our name, I guess, is what I'm asking?
Yes, we have cleared our name. If you look at the article now, it's been adjusted. I mean, President Ramaphosa has not said he's going to stay in power forever. Nor have we seen anything by anyone saying that the ruling party is going to make sure that it wipes out all the parties in South Africa using the state of disaster in order to entrench itself. This has been done by the book, as explained by Minister Lamula, according to the rule of law, but government is accountable. I like the fact that our citizens have no qualms taking government to court, and our government has no issues being taken to court, either on socio-economic rights or on civil and political rights. So it's understood that we don't fit this category.
All right, Ambassador, perhaps...
Nobody has disappeared in South Africa. Journalists, I'm talking to you, journalists are still doing their business. Civil society is free to work. However, we have a challenge. What is happening is that mistakes are being made, transgressions are happening, which are being dealt with in overreach and in heavy-handedness by the police. That we cannot deny. But that does not qualify us as a state where there's a toxic lockdown culture of repressive measures intended to suppress our people.
All right, and perhaps just to conclude, on a personal note maybe, how's life for you out there in Europe? Europe was hit quite hard, and how has your life adjusted in terms of trying to do your job in a lockdown scenario?
Oh, it's not been easy. We have to continue to work because this requires a global response. As I said, I'm ambassador also to the World Health Organization that is doing its job very well, but needs to be defended as well. So we're all working from home, teleconferencing, Skyping, and we're having to adjust to new methods of negotiation in order to be able to have decisions made on access to medicines and access to the tools that are required for treating COVID, such as ventilators and all of that. This is an unnatural state that is really not easy for anyone. Humanity hasn't encountered a complete shutdown as it were, and the physical distancing that we're having to do, seeing each other across the screen. But Europe is coming out of it. They have been under an extensive period of lockdown. Here in Switzerland, they are easing out slowly, but with care, managing the risk, just like South Africa is doing.